You know she's getting filled by some black stud. You know there's some black fucking bull that's just filling her with cock meat, giving her the real fuck she deserves. Some big black bull just filling her with cock meat.
All right, folks, how we all doing? How are we all doing? And let's see how our volume is. Maybe just a little bit higher than that. All right, how are we looking? That should be good. That should be good. All right, I don't want to, the couple of streams I did, I thought things sounded a little too loud, almost kind of distorted. Just a hint of the Burger King microphone going on there. And then I tried, well, you got to turn it down, obviously. You got it too high. It was getting in the red once in a while. And then people are complaining, no, it's too low. So, I can't win. So just fuck me. I guess that just fuck me. I get bent over either way, I guess is the way. All right. So, I hope everyone's weekend's going good. I don't really have a weekend. I had today. I've been working 60 hours at the old box factory, 6 days a week. Not a lot of fun. Not having a good time with that. Today I decided I was going to treat myself. I was going to get some Little Caesars. Some Little Caesars pizza. I like Little Caesars. Not so much the pizza. The pizza's kind of garbage. But I really, really like the crazy bread. And, the pizza, it's fine. It's, is it good? Well, it's hot and it's ready. and it's cheap, so it's got that going for it. So I figured, okay, I get pepperoni pizza and get some crazy bread. And the great thing about pizza, you can heat that up, so that's like a couple meals. Like pizza heats up fine. So I go into Little Caesars, and I have my mask on because we live in an authoritarian hellscape now, and I don't have it covering my nose because I'm fond of being able to breathe properly. I'm a big fan of that. And the Karen behind the counter, she was having none of this. She insisted that I cover my nose before she would serve me. And I was in a bit of a mood. So I decided to give a counter offer that she could place my testicles into her mouth. Now, while that was extremely emotionally satisfying, and the look on her face alone, just completely worth it. It was, however, counterproductive to my goals of getting Little Caesars. So I ended up getting Pizza Hut. That was my afternoon. Oh, and I saw Scoob. Because of course I can't go to. I would have gone to the movie theater to go see Scoob, but we're not allowed to do that because again, authoritarian hellscape. So I went ahead and on demanded the old Scoob, and it was fucking fantastic. I loved that movie. Oh, that movie was an absolute joy. Now I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan. I was a big Scooby-Doo fan as a kid. In fact, basically anything about Scooby-Doo, Zombie Island, the 98 animated movie Zombie Island, that and anything prior. And I'm basically a fucking expert. Basically, that and anything before it, complete fucking expert. I loved Scooby-Doo as a kid. I loved like the weird spin-offs, like the one where the ghosts were real, and Velma and Fred weren't there, and there was a little homeless boy, and they were hanging out with Vincent Price. 13 Ghosts Scooby-Doo. 13 Ghosts Scooby-Doo was awesome. A pup named Scooby-Doo was awesome. Not so much a fan of the ones where Shaggy was in a red shirt and it was just him and Scooby and Scrappy, and there was real monsters like like Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf and stuff like that. Those were kind of bad. But for the most part, I loves me some Scooby-Doo. And Scoob, I mean, I'm a jaded 37-year-old man, and Scoob was thoroughly entertaining. John Steele says, next time tell them you have a medical condition that makes wearing a mask dangerous for your health. If they refuse to serve you, you're in violation of federal law, including the ADA. Is anybody taking this? Like, I get it. You Karens just like to be able to boss people around. But, like, you don't think this is a real fucking threat either. Like, you're not hiding in your home. You just want to boss people around. Social distancing. It's all gay. Okay, it's all fucking gay. It's the fire. This is obviously not a real threat. Like, okay, yeah, at first, I understand being concerned. I was concerned at first, but it's obviously not a fucking threat. So we do a Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island set in NYC. That place is obviously filled with NPC zombies. It is not. It is, however, I would have up until today said Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island was the height of that franchise. Like, it was never better than that. I think Scoob edges it out just a bit. Just a bit. I think Scoob edges it out. Davis Arini, the Supreme Sigma, says, Scooby-Doo is the worst Marvel superhero. Well, thank you very much for that, Davis. So no matter you liked it. I guess no wonder you liked it, Retchloff. Oh, dude. The Clip Channel, this Davis Arini, the Supreme Sigma, put up a clip the other day. We might watch it, but he's going on about, like, a scandal involving ContraPoints. And he says, and I quote, I haven't been paying attention to it. I don't understand it. But what it boils down to is, blah, blah, blah. That is quintessential Arini. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but let me tell you what all this boils down to. Scooby-Doo was stolen from Fallout. You know, the cast of Scooby-Doo is basically entirely based on there was some shitty sitcom in the 50s. I think it was called, like, Dobby or something like that. Or it was like there was, the main character was this, like, just kind of preppy guy. And then there was a rich girl, and there was a brainy girl, and there was, like, a beatnik hippie guy who was played by the guy who would later play Gilligan in Gilligan's Island. I can't remember the name of that show. But basically the human cast members of Scooby-Doo are lifted whole cloth from that old 50s show. John Steele says, my favorite Scooby-Doo movie is the porn parody. Well, I mean, it's hard to resist. It's hard to resist a hot chick dressed as Daphne or Velma. Somebody says, of course the COVID hysteria is gay. That's why Arini bought into it so hard. I know he sort of bought into it early on, and then he went whole cloth in the Bill Gates is going to use this to inject autism into you with the vaccines made of 5G energy or something. Like, he went full cloth the other end. Yeah, he's full on, and I think it's just because Roosh is, like, full on, like, you're not going to give me the autism, Bill Gates. Like, calm down, Roosh, you already have it. But yeah, Scoob's great. Scoob is a quality movie, definitely worth your time. You know, and I like the use of other Hanna-Barbera characters in it, like Blue Falcon and Dick Dastardly, and even Captain Caveman in there. Can't catch me autistic thoughts. Exactly, Chad. Exactly. A wanted to do a stream with Luke, but I'm doing these so so unannounced right now that it's hard to catch him. I was thinking like, oh, I'll do a stream with him tomorrow, and I was even saying like, yeah, because I actually only I lied. I didn't have a 60-hour week, folks. I only had a 58-hour week this week. So I was I was getting home at 10. I figured maybe 10:30, 11. We do a stream. I then messaged him on my lunch break. I'm like, dude, I'm already. I can already tell I'm gonna be too fucking tired. I'm not gonna want to do it. But there's a few things I want to talk about with Luke. Just some stuff in Christian circles, that kind of stuff. He mentioned to me Ravi Zacharias has cancer, which I was not aware of, but I hadn't really been following him much lately. I used to follow him a lot, but Dave Serini, Supreme Sigma. Dave Serini actually said no one has died. I have the clip. Like, yeah, there's middle ground between, we're obviously overreacting and this is fake and 5G is making us sick. Steve's Jerky. Kim Possible grew up and became Lenore. So it says, I'll give it a look this Friday when I'm not broke. I mean, you can't obviously go to the movies anymore. And I guess, this is a new dynamic now. Normally when you rent a movie on your cable or your satellite or something, it's like $5-10. Well, it's like $20 to rent this one. But that's because it's the, I guess, new movie rental price. This new dynamic where we don't have movie theaters anymore. Oh, the new normal. Isn't it so great? Totally doesn't suck balls. But yeah, I was talking a little bit on the last stream about Christian circles and how much they suck. I think I was shitting on Fireproof, the movie Fireproof. I don't know. I'm so done with Christian subculture in this country, and just in general. What are my choices? I either hang out with the cringe fucking evangelicals, or I go hang out with the Orthodox and the Catholics, who are even fucking worse. John Steele says, have you heard of Torrent? Well, I don't mind paying for a movie if I fucking like it. I'd rather do that, because then maybe they'll make more of the movies I like. David Serini, Supreme Sigma. Pagans are more virtuous. That's the thing about Catholics, If there's one thing they can't stand, it's a Christian that actually gives a shit about the Bible. Guess it's Pirate Bay for me again. Well, here's what you do. I mean, what is $20? It's the cost of 2 tickets. If you got any actual fucking friends in your life, have them come over and split the money. Split the cost of it.
Have you heard of Jesus?
Oh, thank you, Seneca Jeep. Let's see. This live stream is sponsored by Bosch V. Bosch V is too red-pilled for that Roosh degenerate. Wait, damn it! Why is this doing this? Things have switched around on me, and I can't. Fuck it! I'll just refresh it.
Have you heard of Jesus?
Is too red-pilled for that Roosh degenerate who won't recognize the papal supremacy or demon possession of most of the internet. Yes, that's a little scandal. Anonymous Bosch, who you may remember as Irini's Australian boyfriend, who was going to totally dox me and ruin my life and find out where I live and tell all of Lancaster County that I'm an evil person who made Davis Irini cry on the internet. Anyways, he got thrown off the Roosh V forum, which is like the last place he fucking is on the internet, because he can't fucking just get along with people to save his wretched soul. We might read that thread where he gets fucking banned, but he just accuses everyone of being possessed by demons. People in the chat, we must get rid of the Bible so we don't have another Reformation. That's damn right. You know. It's funny, too, you know, when they were doing that porn debate, Styx Hexenhammer and E. Michael Jones, one of the questions they asked E. Michael Jones that he refused to answer because he's a piece of shit, you know, does this stop with porn, or are you going to try and ban other things you find objectionable? You know, violent video games, you know, explicit music, whatever. Well, I'm not going to answer that. That's just hypothetical. It's like, well, this whole fucking discussion is hypothetical. We're not debating a bill in Congress right now. And that's because, I mean, that's the Catholic thing. Like, they would ban just about everything. Those motherfuckers would ban you reading the Bible if they could. You know, make no mistake. That said, though, they ain't like the evangelicals are much better. And like conservative Protestants aren't a bunch of authoritarian assholes, too. A whole fucking lot of them. Just fuck them all. Just fuck them all, man. Like, yeah, you know, James McDonald spent years being an authoritarian bully, and what finally got people to turn on him? He said bad words. Fuck them all, man. So let's see. I guess we'll watch some clips. Oh, here's a new one from merely 17 minutes ago. Oh, and it's from me. It's from one of my channels. I don't know where they found this. Most of my videos are on this right now. By the way, I'm starting to list more things on this channel again. Some of it I'm going through, and I'm not gonna put every stream back up, but some of the better shit I'm gonna put back up. So, when is this from? Does it say? Doesn't say exactly when. From a while ago. We still had Undertow on here. Let's see. That's right, chat. We must make the world safe for Israel. They're our greatest ally, don't you know?
I could have come up with a far tighter argument, but I have watched. She is so fucking toxic and pedantic, and I just don't care. Like, she's lying about video games. Okay, watch 3 minutes of one of her videos, and you know she's lying. So that segment should have been. It could have been tightened up. It could have been a lot better, but that alone would have taken at least another week, if not 3. So you know what? I said fuck it and left him, because ultimately, you know what? Either you know who Anita Sarkeesian is, and you know she's full of shit, or you don't, and this is good enough to convince you that her arguments are really bad. So it serves my purposes for the film, but I wouldn't bring that argument to like a debate class, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that wasn't quite as damning as the title made it seem, but... Oh, lordy. Beckloff Real, retro gaming equal original Oregon Trail, free to play online. Add Matt Forney into your party today. Apparently that clip's from 2016, by the way. Let's see. Oh, fuck. I'm tired, man. Hell of a week, chat. Hell of a week. Yeah, Arjun, I could probably bring you on. I don't know. I'd probably have to set up a Hangouts though. We're gonna watch the same thing. Let's see. Oh, here's the ContraPoints one. I want to watch this one.
So I've never
Okay, so
really watched ContraPoints, and I'm guessing most of you guys haven't either. So let me briefly introduce ContraPoints. ContraPoints is an skeptic. She came out of the atheist cult skepticism thing that was really big back in 2007. And she is one of the more intelligent ones. Okay, she
should get some fucking Dr. Evil air quotes around the word she, by the way.
She's actually pretty solid. She's also transsexual, so this has become, I mean, like the same way I had incels worshiping me as, yeah, I hate women too, or something like that. She's kind of, because she's transsexual, this...
By the way, that's the latest narrative with him. It's that all the audience that no longer pays attention to him were a bunch of losers, and he's better off without them.
Becomes what everybody sees. Like, I subscribe to a transsexual. I'm open-minded. That nonsense. So there was an incident. Oh, goodness. And I don't know all the details. I don't really understand it. But what it boils down to is that ContraPoints...
There was an incident. I don't know all the details. I don't really understand it. But what it boils down to... There was an incident. I don't know all the details. I don't really understand it. But what it boils down to, I don't really understand it. But what it boils down to I can't get over that. I don't understand it. But what it boils down to, Mortis in the chat, what it boils down to is I need to run society. That's right. Yeah, that's always what it boils down to. Yes, chat. Davis Arini is a champion of trans rights. That is correct. Oh.
Commented that normies get her, like, they don't misgender her. They call her her because ContraPoints looks like a woman. Whereas the really woke people tend to use the third person pronoun for her and misgender her, and it's just like a little comment, right? Well,
am I thinking of the same person?
Oh my God! You better not make a little comment on the internet, folks. The radical left, the social justice, like the crazy people,
would
start issuing her death threats. They chased her off of Twitter temporarily. They all turned on her like crabs in a bucket. And so this is just another data point which agrees with my theory that these internet movements they've petered out, right? The only people that are still left with these internet movements are,
I guess I was thinking of Riley
chip
Dennis
on their shoulder that want to.
That's who I was thinking of, because I was gonna be like, it looks like a woman. Are you fucking kidding me? And then this one, I guess, Yeah, I guess I was picturing Riley Dennis in my head. Okay, I guess I'll give you that one.
Scream into the void, essentially.
That's right, Chet. He said, misgender unironically. Tom Bombadil says, if you don't understand or agree with Rainey, the problem is certainly with you and not with Rainey. That's right, Chad. That is exactly right. I don't know if Luke might be able to set up a Hangouts. I don't know. It's looking like he just responded. I said, if you're able to set up a Hangouts, maybe we can BS. Oh, pardon me. But yeah, I love that video, that clip right there. We don't want to miss gender ContraPoints, all right? We are a champion of trans rights here at the Davis Arini Show. Let's see. I don't know, Arjun. I might be able to bring you on. Let me see if I can make this work. I don't know. It's been so long since I set up a fucking Hangouts. I can just go into an old one. Ow. Let's see. I'll send you an invite on the Discord then. Check your Discord messages there, Argent. Hopefully this will work. Oh man. Oh fuck. What a long week. Let's see, Argent. Where's the hang on, folks. I know the browsable live stream. Okay, so that should be a Hangouts link there, Arjun. I sent you on Discord. Contra penis. That's right.
Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, real quick in the chat. Hey, Retchloff, did everyone clap after your trip to Little Caesars? Everyone did not clap. I'm sorry to say. In fact, it was pretty much, after I said that, there was pretty much just sort of a an awkward period of us staring at each other, in which I just sort of said to myself, well, I guess I should hit the old dusty trail. I think we're done here. I've just had it with this shit, man. It's like, your mask isn't covering, It's like, shut the fuck up. I just want to, just give me a pizza.
You think you've had it. I've been at working from home with fucking Arini videos on in the background as I'm doing busy work.
I don't even wear I have a bandana at work, and I just, the kind of machines I work with, there's no fucking reason I need a mask. And I don't breathe that well with the fucking things covering my face. So I have a bandana, and I just leave it around my neck. And the only times I put it over my mouth and my nose is if I got to go to the bathroom, I got to walk through a department that's run by a fucking Karen. So I put it on then. But the rest of the day, it's just around my neck, and boss just doesn't give me any shit, thankfully. Because at this point, especially working all this overtime and all, if my boss started giving me shit about it, I would lose my job in a hurry. It would not go well.
If whenever we have an online meeting, everybody talks about how all the people at my work spent the lockdown watching Modern Family, Grey's Anatomy, and TikTok videos.
Good God. Sounds terrible.
I don't even really know what TikTok is, other than the fact that nurses made a TikTok video, and I think they're scum.
Yes, I don't particularly. TikTok is something like kids are doing a lot of, and it's by the way, it's a complete Chinese data farm. I know that much about it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch TikTok shit. I
don't even really know what it is, to be honest.
I dated a girl back in the mid 2000s that was big in Grey's Anatomy, and fuck, that show was boring.
It's also super paused.
I guess. I mean, this was like, I guess when I was watching it with her, this had been like 2007 ish, and I'm just like, this show sucks, man. This is so fucking boring.
They're talking about like how if you like they're planning to just spend like a full month just watching Grey's Anatomy, like 5 episodes a day until they're caught up.
I can't really binge shit that much. Like, I gotta be
Not fucking Grey's Anatomy.
super into something. You know what? Luke just set up a hangout. So I tell you what, Argent, I'm gonna send you that link real quick, and I'm gonna hop into that one, because that way Luke can do visuals. Hang on a second. I'm gonna let me get on. Here we go. All right, so I'll shoot you that Hangouts link in the Discord, and we'll meet back in there. All right. Okay, chat. I know. Perils of a live stream. But yeah, Grey's Anatomy's fucking trash. I've seen a little bit of Modern Family, and I know there's like the gay couple in it. But Modern Family for a modern sitcom isn't too bad. Okay. So I was saying before I hop back in here that I had seen a little bit of...
I had to take a 25% pay cut, but it could be a lot worse, so...
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow. So are we live?
Yep, we're live. I was saying before I hopped back in here that Grey's Anatomy I think sucks. I've seen a little bit of Modern Family, and even though it's got the gay couple in it, I think it is at times genuinely funny, but it's not really a show I'd get into that much.
It's really cringe.
Like I said, I've seen a couple episodes that made me laugh. I like Ed O'Neill, and I like the character he plays with the fucking Spanish trophy wife and shit.
How do you feel about Big Bang Theory? I don't know if I've ever heard you talk about it.
I had like ups and downs with that show when it first came out, because I was big into nerd shit even back then before it was cool. I watched that show. I think I watched like the first 1 or 2 episodes, and I thought it was absolute garbage. I'm like, this is crap. This is disgusting. Fuck this show. And then it got like super popular, and it was on all the time, and people I knew were into it. Finally, I gave it another chance, and I'm like, you know what? The show ain't too bad. I kind of like this show now. And I was into it for like a couple of years, and then it just sort of got old, and I got tired of it. So I sort of had this, like, I sort of went from hating it to loving it to just sort of being a little kind of indifferent to it. I sort of feel like... I sort of feel like every criticism of it and every praise of it are both true. Like, I think it is at times genuinely really, really fucking funny. And I think the 2 main actors, the guys that play Leonard and Sheldon, I think they're tremendous comedic actors. And to the extent that show was ever good, it was because of them. That said, though, I totally fucking get why everyone shits on it, too. Brad Jones, the guy who does Cinema Snob, he did a really good video where he literally binged watched the entire fucking series over I don't know how long, but after each episode he would sit down and like talk about it for a couple of minutes, and he literally just those couple minute chunks strung them together in like a 3-hour video. And he brought up an interesting point that I kind of always thought, but I never really put 2 and 2 together in my head. The single worst character in that show is the Indian dude.
Oh yeah, he's awful.
Like, he's usually annoying and not funny. There's nothing redeeming about him. Like, he's honestly a shitbag. Like, it's not just that he's a nerd and he's awkward and all this other stuff. Like, I mean, like the autistic guy Sheldon is a complete asshole to people, but he's not like malicious. You know what I mean? He's not but like Raj is a little shit.
I find Howard annoying because he's such a pussy.
Howard's annoying, but he at least had like some character growth and shit
Well, his
throughout the
wife
show.
is super hot, so I'll give him that.
You know, he grew as a character, at least, but like Raj is a shitbag from episode 1 to episode end. Like, just, I don't know how long that show went on, but for
You know, Leonard and I spent the night together.
Yeah, but you were just sleeping because I forbade you to have sex.
Yeah, Raj was the single worst part of that. You know something I kind of found interesting about that show, and I thought it was, I don't know how purposeful this was, but it was sort of accidentally brilliant. If you look at the three main guys, they take Raj out of the equation because even in universe, he's a diversity hire. But look at the three main guys. You got, Sheldon, Leonard, and Howard, right? Howard is probably the dumbest of those three. Now, I mean, he's still an engineer, he's still a genius, but he's not those other two, you know what I mean? And yet, he's the one that's actually doing the most for the world around him. You know what I mean? Like, he's making stuff for NASA and shit like that. Whereas Sheldon is by far the smartest of the three, and he's basically doing mental circle jerks all day for the university. So it sort of almost encapsulates this idea of kind of a diminishing returns with intelligence, where, like, you could be so intelligent, you're sort of useless.
That's actually scientifically proven.
And, I mean, Leonard's in the middle of those three, and he's in the middle when it comes to being, useful for fucking society.
Well, I mean, that's kind of, I think, on purpose, because, like, Sheldon's really elitist, and he always looks down on Howard and says he's, like retarded and stuff.
But again, Howard has done the most for the world around him.
Yeah,
Howard isn't as smart as you, but Howard also, built stuff for NASA, and you didn't.
He went to the space station.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that show is at times honestly pretty brilliant, and at times it's pretty fucking terrible.
The humor does not really exist in that show. It's the best humor about that is just watching these very autistic people interact with the world around them, but every other time it's just them being themselves. Like,
you can tell. Like many sitcoms, it had a staff of writers, and I get the feeling like half of those writers are really, really good and half aren't. Like, I honestly, and from what I understand, half of those writers worked on shows like Frasier and stuff like that, and the other half of those writers worked on like other like Chuck Lorre shit, like Two Broke Girls or stuff like that. So I think that's kind of where that comes from. There's also times where, as a nerd, I can pick up on the fact that they're just doing insane shit that just would not be the fucking case. Like, there's people in a comic book store arguing, like, they put a bet over whether or not Wolverine has bone claws. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? My dad knows that. Like, that's not something two nerds are arguing over. There's definitely a case, I think, ultimately, where that show is written for not for nerds, but people who know nerds.
I'd agree.
Like, that show, if you're a nerd, that show is for your dad.
Young Sheldon, though, looks like the most unwatchable.
Oh, that looks like garbage. I don't think I've seen an episode of that, but I have no interest in seeing an episode of it.
A friend of mine said, ironically enough, that the greatest argument the show presents that God doesn't exist is if God existed, he wouldn't allow young Sheldon to exist.
The other thing about Big Bang Theory, there's a lot of really talented actors in that. Like another thing I find really interesting about that show is that Leonard and Sheldon both wish they had the other's mom. Like, Leonard's mom is this cold, calculating, autistic bitch that Sheldon thinks is the coolest fucking person in the world, and Sheldon's mom is this sweet, hyper-religious lady that Leonard wishes was his mom. But yeah, a lot of the other character I loved in that show was Bob Newhart playing like the Bill Nye the Science Guy type guy.
Oh, that was like my favorite episode.
He was in that a bunch, and Bob Newhart's fucking funny as shit. Like, Bob Newhart, that is just the delivery on that.
His comedic timing is amazing.
Really, like I said, you could say what you will about the writing, and I think the writing on that show is hit or miss, but both the actor that played Leonard and the actor that played Sheldon, both of them are amazing comedic actors, and I mean, neither one of them needs to work ever again because they've made cajillions of dollars off that show. But it's a shame they both don't get more work.
Mm-hmm.
I heard at one point the guy that wanted to play Sheldon was saying like, "I want to play the Riddler in a Batman movie," and I just remember thinking like, that would be amazing casting.
That would be good, actually.
Like that would be so perfect. But yeah, I have very mixed feelings on the Big Bang Theory to answer your question. I can definitely see why people shit on it, and I can definitely see why people love it. Because I was in both those camps at one point.
Right.
Mr. Jeffries, I am so sorry. We should have told you about the broken elevator.
I agree.
That guy's so funny. There's that scene where he's like, I know Sheldon. He's saying to the Mr. Wizard guy, Bob Newhart's character, like, I know Sheldon seems, special, but he's actually a genius. And then like Penny walked by, and he's like, "Who's that?" He's like, "That's my girlfriend." And he just looks at him for a second. He goes, "You're the genius." What was it? What was the shitty movie Penny was in? The Serial Apist. She was in like a B movie about a murderous raping ape.
So was that was that actually a thing?
Well, no, she like the character was in the in-universe was in that movie. I don't think that actress been in any movies. And at this point, she doesn't need to. Like none of those people need to work another day in their life. They were making. That was one of those shows where like the entire cast was making millions of dollars each episode.
I found 2.5 Men was one of those shows that like alternated between being really funny and being awful.
Yeah, 2.5 Men definitely had some really great moments, especially early on. Like that's a show that really outlived its premise, but like early on, that show was pretty damn good for a while.
Because I even like later, I felt like some episodes were hilarious and others were like really boring and cringy. So,
well, Chuck Lorre, the guy that basically made that show and made Big Bang Theory, one of the guys that made Big Bang Theory, he has a track record of producing shows that have usually a really solid press, are wonderfully cast, and have incredibly hit or miss writing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is with him, but I've noticed that with most of his shows.
From the people who lost a lot of money on Serial Apist comes Serial Apist 2. Monkey see, monkey kill.
Like I totally watched that movie.
Serial Apist.
There was like one scene I remember early on where like they're arguing over which movie theater to go to, and like they're taking all these things into account, like which ones has the best snacks, how far each one is, and like and they got to take all these factors into account because it has to be just perfect for Sheldon's autistic ass, and finally the three guys aside from Sheldon just go, well, there's only one option, and then they all three leave and just leave Sheldon there. And and he just sort of looks at the blackboard where they were writing everything out, like the dry erase board. He looks at it for a second, shakes his head, and he goes, they were right. It was the only option.
And there's like the episode where like Sheldon steals the like Indiana Jones cut with like the additional like 3 seconds of footage.
Yeah,
Bill Wheaton was also really funny.
Will Wheaton was surprisingly funny in that.
Sheldon's arch nemesis.
Yeah, that show definitely had its moments. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's insanely polarizing. Like most people are just like, it's the worst thing ever, or they just fucking adore it. And I mean, I don't think it's either one of those things. And I don't think all this crap about it's nerd blackface and all this other dumb shit. Like, come on, man. Like, I've honestly heard people like, it's just appropriating nerd culture. And it's like, get the fuck over yourself. Like who cares?
Wait, people literally were saying that?
Oh yeah, there's tons of like nerd fucking group subcultures that were all mad about it. And it's like, yeah, they get shit wrong, but I mean, who cares?
Monkey kill. This film is not yet rated, but don't worry, she gets naked in it.
I wish an announcer would just do that once. Like, yeah, don't worry, there's titties. We know why you're here.
For a horror movie, yeah, that's kind of like half.
Don't worry, man, there's titties. There's gonna be titties.
Oh yeah, I'm looking up some articles trying to find the show is nerd blackface or something.
Oh, there was a bunch of people saying shit like that. It's like, calm down.
The whole show. Oh, here's what here's a Reddit list off. It says, "quote quote quote." We can call BBT offensive to everyone without it also being offensive. Shocker. And so the whole show is toxic masculinity captured on a screen. Like what?
Toxic masculinity. Okay.
But it's true. It's all three of these things you said. It's poor representation of what nerds actually are. It's making fun of autism for creepy laughs, and it's quote harmless, not actually harmless, cause misogyny.
I'd be honest with you. For a while, Sheldon was one of my favorite TV characters ever. And don't get me wrong, there was a very inconsistent writing with him. But I'm a big fan of those characters that are like the type of genius that borders on insanity. I find those characters incredibly fascinating. Like Dr. House, back when that was written well. Fucking Detective Gorin on like Law and Order Criminal Intent. That guy, that was amazing. Like, I really like those kind of characters where it's like, it's this kind of genius that's almost crippling. Like, that's really fascinating, especially when it's written well. And obviously with Big Bang Theory, there was a lot of inconsistent writing. Like, Sheldon was supposed to have eidetic memory, which, you know, that he remembers everything. That's an incredibly stupid thing to write into a character because it's incredibly hard to write that consistently. Because Sheldon forgets a lot of shit in that show. Now, you could interpret that as Sheldon is an arrogant motherfucker who just has a really good memory and tells everyone he remembers everything perfectly.
Yeah, at least Sherlock Holmes had a consistency of saying he can remember almost everything, but he has to delete past information to remember, which is why he doesn't remember that the Earth revolves around the sun.
Like Wesley Crusher supposedly had that in, which actually, now that I think about it, because Wesley Crusher was like Sheldon's favorite character, maybe that's why Sheldon just bullshitted and said he had that.
They are kind of similar in a lot of ways.
But Wesley Crusher supposedly had eidetic memory, but again, that's something the show just constantly forgot, because I guess the writer sure as hell didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're ever writing characters, don't give that to a character unless you're ready to have a fucking chore every time you write that character. Right. Let's see. British James wants to hop in. I might send him an invite here. So, Luke, you were telling me the other day that Ravi Zacharias has cancer.
Oh, yeah.
I had not heard that at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was late to the party on that one, too, because I was just recently inspired to watch some of his old videos and some of his presentations. And then going through the search, I realized that it's been announced that he has terminal cancer and he's just spending time with his family right now.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. Well, in all fairness, I just where my schedule's been the last, I guess, close to a year now. A lot of the Christian radio things I used to listen to, I just don't get to listen to them because I'm not in the car when they're on anymore. But Ravi Zacharias and Steve Brown were probably the biggest influences in me coming to Christianity. So, and I'll be honest with you, I mean, they didn't announce anything, don't get me wrong, but Steve Brown's coming down the home stretch. Like, he just is. You could tell. You could tell he's getting tired. He doesn't do the show as much. There's a lot more guest hosts of his show these days. And, I mean, he was an old man 20 years ago when I discovered him. So, you know, that's obviously not going to get better. You know, that's only something that gets worse. So I have a feeling both of those two are not long for this world.
Yeah, Ravi Zacharias was one of the first evangelists I ran into, or the best evangelists I ran into in my formative Christian years. And it was just so wonderful. Even though I don't agree with all of his argumentation, it's just so wonderful to hear a defense of the faith that's passionate, articulate, and very rational. It's just so amazing to hear that. I don't really hear that from much of anyone else.
He wrote he wrote several books, but there's a couple that stick out in my head. I guess they're sort of fiction. I mean, well, they are fiction, but based on real stuff. He wrote it was like a series of books of like people after they died, like facing their last judgment. One of them he wrote on what's the guy, Oscar Wilde. And Oscar Wilde was, this hedonist writer, fag, all this other stuff, and he ended up coming to Christ later in life. And, this is just sort of him talking to the Lord at the pearly gates about his life and all this other stuff. And it's this really interesting dissection of hedonism and the dead end of it all. I can't remember exactly what that's called.
Here it is. Sense and Sensuality. Jesus talks with Oscar Wilde on the pursuit of pleasure.
That's the exact one. Good read.
Yeah, and there's one line that Ravi always brings up in his speeches, like in the speeches, where one little quote he says, Ravi, he says Oscar Wilde looks to his lover and says, of all the people we've sexually exploited, all those little boys, did you love any of them for their own sake? And he said, no, I did not. And that's when he goes, I can't do this anymore. I need to return to Christ.
Well, the thing with a lot of these manosphere pickup artist things that's dawned on me recently is, you kind of listen to some of them and you're like, good Lord, you've never been in love. Like, that's something that kind of dawned on me recently. And I know it's probably like they thought, like, no shit. But it's something that just kind of, like, sank in with me. Guys like Roosh or something, it's like, you've never been in love. And, and I don't hate Roosh. I know Arjun's certainly not fond of him here, but I don't hate Roosh. But when I listen to Roosh talk about his escapades, not only do I think he never loved any of those women, I'm not particularly convinced he ever truly enjoyed any of them.
Wow.
Can I make a point?
That's hang on one sec. That's the damnable thing there. Like, I'm honestly not convinced he was ever even really having fun. Like it was just status. It was just about the game, as you put it,
Yep. That reminds me of that. I recently was going over the Confessions of St. Augustus, and one thing he was one particular sin that he confessed where he stole prunes from a neighbor's garden, and there's some commentators say, why would anyone be sad about stealing prunes? And Oscar Wilde says, I stole prunes even when I didn't like them. And that's what really depressed me about it.
There's an old Garfield comic I remember from when I was a kid, like real little kid, but it was like Garfield like pounces on a mouse, right? And then he sees another one goes by and he like uses a free paw to grab it. And he just does this like 4 times. So there's a mouse in each paw, right? And then another one walks by and he lets those 4 mice go and jumps on that one. And he just says, it's not about the having, it's about the getting.
I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do when I caught it. But British James, you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, on that topic, I was actually watching some of the more Patrice O'Neill stuff. I think I said this, he said this actually, because let's be real, most PUA MGTOW stuff, that was basically Patrice O'Neill's sloppy seconds. Almost everything you can find on that sort of game stuff was stuff Patrice was saying in stand-up in the early noughts. And it's kind of a weird thing to say.
There's a bit on Revenge of the Cis where talking about pickup artists, Mersh says that Patrice O'Neill is the pickup artist Jesus. He came, he said all these things, and then he died. And all the pickup artist guys are like the prosperity gospel motherfuckers coming after him.
At the end of the day, I love Patrice. I'd give my left nut to actually see that guy back, but he was still a fat fucking degenerate. If you listen to a lot of his stuff, like he didn't do much stand-up, but there's a lot of Opie and Anthony. There was the Black Phillip show. There's a lot of that stuff, and even he's like, and this is the point which you were saying with the whole idea of have a lot of these people. Let's say, for example, you said Roosh, have these people actually loved and enjoyed it. As he says, either love them or understand them. When people have this idyllic nature with women, but then you get the PUAs, and it's almost like you say they view it as a fucking game, like something you're trying to exploit. There's no fun in that, and fair enough. I think you kind of need that right balance between ignorance and actually not being a fucking.
They're like speedrunners, where they exploit every glitch in the system to the point where they're clearly no longer having fun with the game anymore.
Yeah, it's like track and field. Like who has fun doing 100 meters? That's the most boring fucking thing ever. But like getting a record, that probably is nice.
Zach the Bong Ripper just said Ravi Zacharias died on May 13th. I can't find any evidence for that online. The closest thing to that I see is I think it was May 13th is when his declining health was announced. So near as I can tell, he's still among the living.
That's May 17th. Cancer prognosis dire for Ravi Zacharias. That's the 17th. That's today.
Yeah, he apparently he's still around.
Well, at 73 years old.
No, he's not a young guy. I mean, well, you got to think these are guys. These guys have been doing this shit since the 90s. I mean, same with Steve Brown, I believe. I think it was 2001, 2000, maybe. No, it was definitely. It was 01 at the latest that I discovered both of them actually. They were their programs were side by side on a local Christian radio station. Tom Bombadil, who, as we all know, is either a troll or insane, but nonetheless in the chat, he says the type of love Beckloff describes as the infatuation phase of a relationship lasts about 18 months max. No, that's not at all what I'm describing. I'm describing that phase in a relationship where you've been together for years and you're just comfortable around each other, that sort of thing. And yeah, none of those guys have had that. I'm not convinced they've even had the infatuation thing. I'm not convinced a lot of these guys have felt anything more than lust.
Yeah,
which is a pitiable thing.
That is a classic illustration of postmodern thinking. He talked about these two Australian sailors who'd just gotten off the boat in England and wandered out into the night to enjoy the nightlife, and they stepped into an English pub, enjoying all the offerings for the night there. They had inebriated quite a bit and stepped out of the pub, wobbling on their feet into a dense London fog. And as they were staggering there outside the pub, they saw a man coming in, unknown to them. He was a highly decorated British naval officer. And so they waited till he came close, and they said to him, "Say, you bloke, do you know where we are?" The English naval officer, rather offended by this, looked at them and said, "Do you men know who I am?" At which point one Aussie said to the other, "We are really in a mess now. We don't know where we are, and he doesn't know who he is."
Yeah, just that presentation, it's such a shame. Such a shame that, but there's just so much to go through. On one hand, I'm glad that all the work he's done is still preserved somewhere, and that we always review it. But just sad that the man is not near the end of his life.
No, what's sad to me, I mean, because he had a good long life. We all run our course. He's done his work. He's had some good times. Clearly, he's had a family. Good for him. No, the sad thing is, I don't see a lot of people to take his place. That's where the sad thing is.
And for me, I felt that way when R.C. Sproul passed away. He was one of the preachers. He and Ravi were good friends and acquaintances because of their circles. And just when R.C. Sproul passed away, I thought, wow, no one's those are big shoes to fill. And as of now, there's no one to really take that spot for either of them.
It's funny. I was going back. Did you ever hear of somebody named D. James Kennedy, Luke?
No, D. James Kennedy.
He wasn't particularly good, but he was in one of these evangelical.
Oh yeah, I recognize him now. Yeah,
he was big in Southern Florida. He kind of was rising to power throughout the 90s into the 2000s, well into the Bush years. I want to say he died around 07 or 08, something like that. It's funny, he almost died right around the same time that, the religious right and neoconism died. But he was one of those guys that, set up, he had this growing, whatever you call these organizations, these parachurch ministries, I guess is the polite way to put them. And he just, had this body of work, and after he died, there was nobody to run his little organization really, and it just sort of petered. It probably still exists, but it just sort of petered out into nothing. And that's because there wasn't anything behind his teachings. It was just, it was just cult of personality shit. It was just more of that authoritarian end of the religious right spectrum where he was just trying to build his own little corner of that empire. And, you know, he died and it crumbled to dust in a couple of years. You know, his show was on every Christian radio station. And, I mean, even before he died, you couldn't find it on any anymore.
So you think that his biggest drawback is that he didn't, like, he was just trying to build himself up? I never really saw any of his stuff. I imagine he's the kind of person that my mom or dad would have watched on televangelism.
His stuff was the typical religious right, neocon, Bush years evangelical shit.
Yeah,
it was just that.
That's very limited. That's
yeah, it was just that. That's all it was. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of big voices are passing away soon.
I was always a Kent Hovind fan myself.
Although how Ken Hovin's interpreted depends on who you ask.
What? Not a fan of Jerry Falwell? Fighting with the guy that makes Penthouse? Oh man!
Although it's sad that Jerry Falwell gets proven right every other day of the week with all his doomsday predictions of the degradation of our culture.
Well, I will say this: he sure was right when he called a certain faith a gutter religion. That was like right after 9/11 too. He didn't give a fuck. just when everyone's like, "Oh, it's, you know, we're not actually at war with Islam, just terrorists," and he's like, "Fuck that, man, gutter religion." I mean, I wasn't a Falwell fan, but hey, I'll raise my glass to that, man. You had some balls on you.
Well,
it's kind of like how, like, the day after 9/11, like, it might have been like 2 days after. I think it was like the libertarian guy Harry Brown on WorldNet Daily just does an article about, like, yeah, we had it coming. Like, oh, the crow plated balls on you, man. I salute that.
Well, the correction is, broke is mourning it, woke is that, and then truly wired is being Gilbert Gottfried and cracking jokes about it a week after.
Oh, there were people in, like, New York stand-up clubs, you know. They were, like, running shows. And, I mean, they didn't even have the power on. You know, they had, like, emergency power, and they're still running shows. And they're making jokes about it then. Because that's what comedy is, damn it.
I want to ask about the...
No, you go.
You go ahead and play it.
Watch it. That was horrible. The watching or the talking? Yeah, every part of it. It's this filmmaker, Neil Berkeley, came up to me and he said, "I've always wanted to do a Gilbert Gottfried documentary." And I said, "Well, you should set your dreams a lot higher than that."
I love that one roast when he was talking about, like, David Hasselhoff sold all these records in Germany. And he's like, but like a lot of things out of Germany, I suspect those numbers are inflated, if not a complete hoax.
It's so brilliant. Did you see? I think the one I've showed you and the rest of your Discord. You know the that Ku Klux Klan leader used to go on Howard Stern. Gilbert Gottfried used to go up there, and it's so brilliant where Gilbert Gottfried starts applauding. Like, he'll go up to his Klan member and say, "Yeah, can I have a round of applause for killing Jesus?" I don't like it. He's not. I don't. Thing is, Gilbert's not really ever been that. He's not been like a guy out loud like you know, like a Patrice or a Bill or a fucking even like you know, what you call it, McDonald, but he's kind of always had zingers every now and then. He's not bad.
But like a lot of stories out of Germany, those numbers are probably inflated, if not a complete hoax.
Oh, dude, when he was at the the Bob Saget roast, he just kept going on. He's like, I'm sick of all these rumors about Bob Saget. I'm sick of people telling me that Bob Saget killed a girl behind the Wendy's in 1990. No, raped and killed a girl behind the Wendy's in 1992. And if you have any evidence that Bob Saget killed and raped a girl behind the Wendy's in 1992, you need to stop gossiping and go straight to the authorities. Oh, God, I miss comedy.
Oh, yes.
God, I miss comedy.
All we have is nighttime TV, and that's, oh.
God. Like, I could laugh at, I'm fine with laughing at shit that I don't even agree with as long as it's funny. There was this one comedian who, and I heard this bit well after I became a Christian. I still thought it was funny. I can't remember his name, but he played the zombie roommate in the cartoon Ugly Americans. Luke, if you want to look him up that way. But he had a bit where he talked about, this is why I'm not a Christian. This is what Christianity sounds like to me. It sounds like I called my landlord to fix my toilet, and he sends his son over to fix the toilet, and he doesn't fix the toilet. He just dies in the bathroom. And then 3 days later he resurrects and he leaves, but the toilet's still broken. And I call the landlord and I say, what's up with this? And he goes, well, I'm not going to fix your toilet, but if you're good, one day I'll drive you to my apartment and you can use my toilet. My toilet's awesome. And he's going through this bit, and I'm like, I'm laughing my ass off at it. And I'm like, look, it's funny. What do you want from me? I can't take a fucking joke. It's funny. But that's the thing. Most people fucking can't. Most people fucking can't. The amount of... And look, Christians were famous for this shit. And they still do it. Don't get me wrong. But like, oh, they made this joke on this show or this movie and I'm offended and all this other bullshit. Well, tough shit. But now the left does it. You know, now that you can't make fun of their sacred cows in a pitch of fit. Like, how about you just can? How about, like, just be funny? That's all the fuck I ask for. I don't ask you to agree with me. I don't ask you to be stroking my fucking views. I just ask you to be funny. I think Arjun had to duck out, by the way.
I was fucking an English woman the other day. I couldn't tell if she was sick with the plague or if she was just an English woman.
Here's this. I like this one.
Too soon.
Well, at least you can't blame this on the Jews. It was an iceberg, not a Goldberg or a Silverberg.
Oh, shit.
Oh. What else we got?
Soon.
Lincoln was a great thinker. I wonder what the last thing to go through his head was.
Too soon.
The Trail of Tears.
Oh no, what's that?
When I heard we were walking a trail of tears, I thought it was a trail of tears that ladies walk when they walk from my bedroom to the car at 3 a.m.
Oh, man. Yeah, I miss comedy.
Good comedy, yeah.
Finnegan Chief in the chat said, D. James Kennedy has no substance, just moral majority idiocy. Yeah, that's all it was. But he was popular as shit. For about a hot minute there, he was super popular. Like, he was a rising star in that corner of political circles. Like, he even... And they were still alive at the time, but he had eclipsed Pat Robertson. He had eclipsed Jerry Falwell in influence. Probably James Dobson was the only religious right leader in the Bush years that had more clout than D. James Kennedy did. And again, all that fucking following for nothing. There was no substance to it. Honestly, the types of people that fuck, like, look, we all give the Catholics shit, us conservative Protestants, we all give the Catholics shit for their Pope. Oh, you follow a guy around in a funny shaped hat. Ha ha ha. And yeah, it's stupid and it's gay. But we're constantly making mini popes here on this side. And it's also stupid and gay. Like, you know, something that dawned on me shortly after James McDonald had his fall is, because I kept saying to myself, like, how did these people not see what he was? And it finally dawned on me. They did. And they liked it.
Ooh.
James McDonald was an authoritarian, sociopathic bully. And they liked that.
Give it a politically correct cunt-a-thon that touched on...
No, where is it? I have a good clip for this.
Before you play that, though, I'd say even if they saw it and, like, it's not even the case they could just like it. They probably viewed it, like, for example, you're the sort of guy who said that when this shit sort of happened, you just left your church. You're in the vast minority of that sort of, you know.
Oh yeah, a lot of people just stuck it out. They felt like they had to stay under it. No, but no, the people that enthusiastically like followed James McDonald did so because they liked the fact that he was an authoritarian bully who tried to swing his dick around.
Yeah.
Frankly, if the scandal had involved him just abusing people instead of like threatening to put child support on someone or child porn on someone's computer, and here's a good example of how idiotic evangelicals are. This man threatened to put child porn on someone's computer, and you know what got just as much coverage? The fact that he called him a prick. That got just as much coverage as if it was just as bad. If it had just been more scandals, like we played on this channel clip after clip of James. Remember when he's just like bullying the shit out of a high school student or something? Like,
yeah.
They saw all that and they liked that because they're a bunch of authoritarian assholes that want a daddy to tell them what to do. That's the sad state of most of my fellow Christians. I'm sorry to tell you this. This is something that has dawned on me in the last, following the Arini shit, I would say. The reasons I was once repelled from Christianity, the things I had to get over, the things I had to realize weren't really the case about Christianity, were just sort of the case about Christian culture, I guess you could say. Those are the things that attract a lot of Christians. The legalism, the authoritarianism, the moral faggotry. All that stuff. The autistic devotion to tradition. Now that's more a Catholic and Orthodox thing than Protestant, but it's also a Protestant thing. Those are the things that repelled me. You know, in my teen years, my agnostic years, I was like, religion's just something they made up to control you, man. And you know what? A lot of people on this end of things are like, yeah, and that's a good thing.
Tell yourself stories that violate every law of the universe just to get through the goddamn day. Now, what's that say about your reality, Marty?
When you get to talking like this, I'm panicked.
Here's the clip I wanted to get.
Aryan vessel.
Hey, Ash, you touched the leaf with its flame.
Transference of fear and self-loathing to an authoritarian vessel. It's catharsis. He absorbs their dread with his narrative. Because of this, he's effective in proportion to the amount of certainty he can project.
Here's the other thing. You know, again, when I was first exposed to real biblical Christianity, because I grew up like we were nominally Christians, but we didn't really go to church kind of thing. You know, if you'd have asked us, I guess our family would have said we were Christians, but not really. But when I first got exposed to, you know, actual fucking, you know, hardcore Christians, I noticed that what they said they believed and what they believed were two fucking different things. And what I mean by that is you hear them go on about grace. You hear them go on about how salvation is, you know, it's this free gift. It's not earned. It's not about the rules. It's about, you know, all this other stuff. And then you realize that they're nothing but legalism. They're nothing but a million fucking rules, half of which aren't even in the fucking Bible. For example, I defy, to this day this challenge lays, every one of you evangelical moral fags who goes on about how gambling is inherently a sin. I will throw down a Bible and tell you to show that to me. It's not fucking in there. But it's just a thing that evangelicals believe. To the point where if you want to build a fucking casino, who are the people that are using the fucking weight of the government to try and stop you? Bunch of moral fagging fucking evangelicals. And again, it's not even in the fucking Bible.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that James Kennedy would push for.
Drinking. The amount of fucking conservative Protestants that go on about, they won't exactly say it's inherently a sin, but Christians shouldn't drink. It's nothing but trouble. I live in a dry township right now because of moral fagging fucking boomer and silent generation evangelicals. I'm sorry, drinking is a sin? Because that's pretty fucking funny. Because last I read this book, the sinless Lamb of God both drank himself and literally performed a fucking miracle so other people could do it.
Yeah.
I think that's only evidence that Jesus might be Irish, though.
No, he didn't turn it into piss warm beer. He turned it into wine.
Water into Guinness.
Yeah, that's really that moral majority stuff is really an attempt to make Christianity approachable to a 5-year-old.
It's an attempt to control people. That's what it is. We want to control people.
But of course, as you know, when you're kids, when you hear this stuff, I was raised in the church my whole life, and it was never really over the top. It was even though my dad was a pastor, there was never this like severe over the top condemnation of drinking or smoking. But my parents said you shouldn't smoke and you shouldn't drink, but they never had to beat me over the head with it. But it was kind of implied that Christians aren't supposed to do that stuff.
And again, like the gambling thing, I think is a keen example. And I joke about getting lottery tickets because it's just fun to think about if you won a cajillion dollars. But I don't even play the lottery that often. I buy maybe at most $20 in a year worth of lottery tickets, like 10 fucking tickets. And I don't gamble in other ways because I'm just fucking cheap. I really just don't. I very rarely make a bet, any kind of stuff like that. But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. Because there's obviously not anything inherently wrong with it. And you can immediately say, well, gambling addiction's bad. Sure. Pissing away more money at gambling than you can afford to lose is obviously bad. But that's not a problem with gambling itself. The amount of idiot... I literally had an argument with the Christian once about this, and the arguments they used were so paper thin. They once said, well, it's inherently wasteful. And it's like, well, look, you're not God. You didn't, they don't answer to you for how they use the gifts that God gave them, okay? Like, think how many things are... Well, you see, when you buy something, you actually have a thing. But when you gamble, you don't actually get anything, right? Well, first of all, you might win. So when I buy a lottery ticket, I might actually get a whole fucking lot. Somebody wins. But also, I get the entertainment of being able to just fucking think, fantasize and be like, well, shit, what if I won that money? Well, you don't get anything. You just get the entertainment. So I get the entertainment. Well, then by that logic, going to see a movie at the movie theater is inherently a sin because you don't get anything, just the experience. Going to a baseball or a football game is inherently a sin.
And that's a gamble as well to an extent, because what if it's a shit film?
Yeah, no kidding. The amount of times I've slapped $10 down on a movie ticket only to very quickly wish I hadn't done that. I mean, I shit on the Catholics a lot on here, and they deserve it. Don't get me wrong. I don't regret any of the fucking things I've said about Catholicism. But it ain't like things are much better on this side. Like, evangelical culture, church culture, all this, it sucks. It fucking sucks. Look at, like, you ever see Plugged In movie reviews? It's an offshoot of Focus on the Family. They do these movie reviews, and each movie review is basically just counting the swear words. Not one of those movie reviews has ever been about the themes of the movie, or the artistic merit of the movie, or even the entertainment value of the movie. It's about how family-friendly it is. By the way, when did family become synonymous with Christianity, by the way? When did, like... You understand not everything has to be family-friendly, not everything has to be sanitized? Do you maybe understand that, like, half the fucking stories in the Bible, if translated faithfully to film, would get a hard goddamn R?
Oh, I'm actually looking at the movie plugged-in movie review for Scoob, and the first line is, honestly, the most terrifying dangers in the Mystery Inc. gang faces are cholesterol and tooth decay.
You just... Literally, that wholesome fucking movie, and they still found something to moral fag about. They just can't help themselves. And I realize that was kind of a joke, that statement. That was their pathetic attempt at a joke there at the beginning. But still, like, it has to be something.
Drug and alcohol content to the sentence on it. Besides Scooby's long-running addiction to Scooby snacks, after which he's apparently named, the only other reference we hear to alcohol is when Velma examines one of Desiree's stray mustache hairs and says, "Oh, is that Scott? Is the bad guy my dad from Daphne?"
Oh my god! Literally, a negative point against the movie is that Scotch was mentioned. I hate those people so much. Like, I literally, the thing I want you to do to yourself is something I can't say on YouTube. That's how much I despise you and your moral faggotry. Because honestly, that kind of gay shit keeps way more people away from Christianity than it brings in. Nobody wants to be like that. Do you understand why the left collapsed in 2013? It's because they became giant fags, moral fags, who were insufferable to be around. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be around that. There's some people I know from my former church, and I'm very close to their family. They're practically family themselves. Over the Christmas season, they were talking about how they saw Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase, and how horribly mortified and offended they were by it. This is why I so oppose censorship. This is why the porn debate a few months ago bothered me so much, with E. Michael Jones wanting to shred the Constitution because he doesn't like pictures of titties on the internet. Because it doesn't stop with that. You understand? I don't want people like that in charge of what we can watch. Because their taste is shit. It just is.
Oh, here it is from the movie Fantasy Island. For crude or profane language, 1 F word and about 10 S words. We hear beach, and God's name and misused about a dozen times. And it's by the guy who it's the same guy who wrote this article is the same one who reviewed Scoob. So it's apparently all these reviews are done by this one guy now.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, Focus on the Family has like no fucking budget these days.
See.
Like, again, because the entire religious right collapsed in 2018 when 2008 when the neocon movement collapsed. Like, that's when the religious right died. I remember 2009, right after Obama got elected, they did this big thing called the Manhattan Declaration, which was this impotent fucking whining about how they lost power, and all these idiots signed it. And they because I remember last year we covered the 10th anniversary of it, because all these people were talking about, we really changed stuff with that. No, you didn't. We took a stand. Yeah, you drew a line in the sand and fucking the left blew right by it like it wasn't there. Good job, guys.
It was a line in the sandbox, and the other guys are just walking past it.
We drew a line in the sand, and the left said, "Out of the way, nerd." The left, not only did they kick that line in the sand, they shoved your face in that fucking thing and made you eat sand. All right? And 10 years later, you act like that was a victory? Are you fucking kidding me? But no, all these... I remember during the Bush years Here's just a good example because we were talking about Focus on the Family. They used to do a their 5 shows during the week, and then they did a weekend magazine show, which was an hour-long thing, and it was almost half original content, and like half of it would be little clips from some of their shows throughout the week, sort of best of stuff. But now their weekend show is literally 2 of their weekday shows back to back. Not one bit of original content. That's the shoestring budget they're on these fucking days compared to where they were. Because who the fuck would be donating money to them right now, other than a handful of fucking boomers that missed the W years?
Yeah, I think most of the again, I can't compare it to my country, but yeah, from what I've seen of the religious right in your country, they've basically have been. It's almost like the equivalent of like huffing glue and pretending back it's the old days with good old Junior. That's all it's been.
I think the religious right is an interesting political movement. I guess I would define it like, coming up in the late 70s, being a major factor in getting Reagan elected. It was kind of formed as a response. The big catalyst to get it started, I guess you'd call it the Zoquin Five Guys spark of the religious right, was the abortion verdict. Like abortion becoming legal nationwide. Again, for whatever reason, be it right or wrong, that's the one thing you can fucking get evangelicals fucking riled up about. And that sort of sparked it as a movement. They were a major factor in getting Reagan elected. Not the only factor, but a major factor. And they had a lot of power throughout the 80s, even into the 90s, and they were a major... They were one of the main guys that's sitting at the table in the Bush years. And they married themselves so tightly to the neocon movement that they basically became indistinguishable. And when the neocons collapsed in 2008... when their power just caved in on itself, that was the end of the religious right. And the funny thing is, to this day, they don't understand what happened. To this day, if you went on like Breakpoint and were watching the writings of like, when they were, again, that 10th anniversary of the Manhattan Project, it was clear then, like John Stonestreet doesn't understand why the religious right doesn't have the power it had in the Bush years. Even here with, in the fucking Trump years, they still don't have even a fraction of that power back. And they don't know why.
Actually, is it a somewhat interesting question for you? Do you think it's for better or for worse that they don't have the same amount of power going into Trump as opposed to if they didn't?
It's mostly better. I mean, look, I'm not happy with a lot of what's going on in the culture and all, but it's mostly better. I mean, look, just because I'm not happy with a lot of left-wing moral faggotry right now doesn't mean I want to replace that with a bunch of right-wing moral faggotry. They don't deserve power. They don't deserve power. They are everything. They're the reason. Them and the neocons, and again, they became indistinguishable. They're the reason the right collapsed at the end of the Bush years. They're the reason we had 8 years of Obama and social justice and all that other shit. Senegan Chief says, just got a cheeser and crazy bread from Little Caesars. That's what I wanted, man. Unfortunately, I told the lady at the counter to suck my balls.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you actually say that?
I did. I said, suck my balls. I'm not kidding. She was like, I can't serve you until your mask is covering your nose. Suck my balls. And then there was just a pause as we just stared awkwardly at each other, and I just left. As I realized, I believe this conversation has come to an end.
The other thing you could have probably said is, the stuff that's come out my nose right now, is that any worse than the stuff you've put into pizzas when you've really fucking hated that customer?
I can't serve you if your nose isn't covered. Can't or won't? Which is it, Karen? No, I had enough. I'm sorry, I had enough.
Well, wait, I need to say this. I know I'm the only English one, but where's your not wearing a mask amendment?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't have my fucking mask license. Oh, Jesus.
I'm going to paraphrase Bray's article by Reason Magazine. The backlash by gamers towards these radical feminist ideals is not anti-woman discrimination. It's anti-authoritarian rebellion.
Oh, I don't know who it was. I think it might have been it might have been Revenge of the Sith or it might have been Nightwave, because I only watch those. I don't watch Daywave usually, but was it the guy? I can't remember. He's like one of those sort of crazy fuckers that merch covers. Someone asked him to turn up to court with a mask, and he came with a fucking Alex Jones mask.
Somebody at the gas station right in my town, like the big one, where you can get made to order food and stuff. Somebody came in there with a Batman mask, like a really shitty plastic one from like Party City or something. Now I want you to think for a moment. What does a Batman mask cover? Everything but your nose and eyes, or everything. Your nose and mouth. So it's literally the inverse of the fucking mask they want you to wear. And I saw him go in. I was like, this absolute madman. And then I literally hear him saying to somebody, like what? I'm wearing a mask. Like good, like fucking good, man. Yeah, you got a license to breathe freely. That's right, chat. I'm sorry. I'm tired of it. I can't fucking breathe with these stupid things on, and they don't do anything anyways. And this virus isn't a real fucking concern anyway. So can we just enough?
Chris, are you using like one of those sort of like those surgeon type, not even masks, they're like face covers?
I had a couple of different kinds. I usually wear a bandana now because it's the most fucking breathable thing. But even that, I just pull it down and it's like around my neck. It's like, suck my dick.
I've got a full face gas mask, but the thing is, they'll probably try and tell me to take off. I'm like, yeah, but it's the only mask that's fucking working. I'll survive against nerve agents and fucking radiation. Your thing's meant to actually, because the main reason, and I think you've probably seen it with Fauci, was they wanted people to wear these masks not because it's helped them, but because if you were infected, it stops the cough from going to other people. It's all nonsense.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, like, this is all. Look, I was concerned about this early on. I thought the numbers looked bad. There was all sorts of stories out of China. I thought this was, and by the way, that was back when the left was telling me that was racist and I need to go suck a dick in Chinatown. All right. So by the way, let's remember that. But early on, I was like, man, this might be a real concern. This could be a real problem. And maybe we need to take some real precautions here. And then it obviously became just about fucking with people and authoritarianism. And the virus was obviously not a real concern. And I kind of came around to, okay, this is all bullshit. Let's not fucking cause a depression over the sniffles. Yeah, I came around. But you know why I did that? I did that because I try my best in this world to base my opinions on fucking reason and observable reality. I just try to do that. And I'm not going to act like I'm perfect at it or I don't have my biases. But that's just something I try to do. And when I think, well, you know what, I was wrong. I think it wasn't X, it was Y. I'm not above admitting that, okay?
And for those who can't see the image...
oh shit, we can't... I don't have the Windows capture up again. Okay,
no,
sorry.
It's someone dressed up in a very leather-tight sexual suit with a gas mask on.
That's a proper gas mask. That's the one I've got.
By the way, somebody in the chat, real quick, asked the new picture of the redhead cartoon chick in the meme scroll. That is Lenore from the Castlevania cartoon. If you want to look up fan art of her, it's very delightful. Lenore is best girl. Lenore, guys, I may have an anime waifu now, and I believe it's Lenore from Castlevania season 3.
Here's a good one. Here's a good one.
The Plague Mask. I want to get a Bane mask. I want to get one that actually changes my voice. Grandma's a juggalo now. Coronavirus turned Grandma into a juggalo.
Let's see, what else have we got? Bear suit, dog helmets.
That's awesome. I don't think anyone could bitch on that one either. Coffee filter. That's amazing.
coffee filter of the
antivirus disc. Just making a mockery of this dumb shit.
If you can smell my fart, you're not far enough apart. Let's see.
I thought the basket said Cucks for a second. I thought there's a store called Cucks, but no. He's smoking a cigarette through it.
I think when you were saying about the initial, because this is actually another question I want to ask, because no one's really. Let's be real. It's been this fucking whole viral thing's been overblown, but I think another question is going to remain: why the fuck was China so secretive? If that's the case, I'm not saying I disagree.
I think it may have been worse early on. Like it's just natural for viruses to mutate into more harmless forms. Generally speaking, that's obviously not always what happens, but generally speaking, that's how they spread far and wide. And there's estimates now that like 70, 80, maybe 90% of the population got this fucking virus. So obviously that was a successful mutation, if that's the case. But that like stuff like Ebola is a good example. Ebola is insanely deadly, and it burns through people really, really fast and kills them really, really fast. And that's why like it flares up in certain areas of the third world, mostly Africa, but it never gets far. But the cold is never going to go away. We will have the cold until the good Lord draws the curtain on human history, all right? Like, it just inevitably, these things tend to just mutate into relatively benign or somewhat harmless forms.
It's like it's just another thing. It's like the equivalent of when the car was invented. It's like you're not going to ban the car or stop the economy. It's another thing that just happens to kill us in a certain percentage. Like Ebola is like a fatality rate of like 50%. Give or take.
Yeah,
like, that's fucking insane.
That's why it doesn't get far.
This virus is highly infective, even compared to the flu and other viruses, but it's still only comparable to regular flus in terms of
I think
fatality.
even if it wasn't more harmless, like look, okay, let's say it has a 0.1% fatality rate. Okay, so imagine a crowded city in China with a butt fucking bajillion people. Right? And it burns through and just infects everybody. Okay, well, now thousands of people are dropping dead. Now, that's this tiny-ass percentage of the population that has it, but it still seems frightening. And everybody puts the lockdown. Like, that's the thing. People throw out all these numbers of this many people died, that many people died. And emotionally, your brain can't handle large numbers. It just can't. Okay, your hindbrain, your emotional part of you has no concept of a million or a billion. It just doesn't. All right. So when you hear 1,000 people died, and and I'm just making that, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but let's say 1,000. Okay, 1,000 people died. Well, that's out of a country of 350 million people. It's nothing. 10,000 people is nothing. 100,000 people is barely anything.
We're not designed for those numbers. Like in terms of like evolution, whether you believe it or not. Like, we're only designed to be familiar with, like, only a couple hundred faces. Names, maybe thousands. But, like when someone told me, like, my mum's like, 600-700 people have died today in England, I'm like, I don't get how many people died of fucking fat nuts.
Your hindbrain, your emotional part of you, can barely handle understanding 10. You understand it? Like, most people, when they think of 10, if they close their eyes and they think of 10 of something, they have to, like, picture 2 5s. Like 2 clumps of 5. You know what I mean? Like, you really can, emotionally, you could barely understand 10 of something. And you have 10 fucking fingers. And you could, but again, you have to like break it up into 2 sets of 5 because it's your fucking hands. You know what I mean? Like, and then like 20, like, good Lord, your emotional hindbrain has a hard time. And then once you get up into triple digits, into 4 digits, into 5 digits, your emotional hindbrain has no fucking concept of that anymore. It just doesn't. Like, and intellectually you can understand these things. We can obviously all do math, but like you just don't have a concept for how fucking big that is. And so when you hear 1,000 people were killed by such and such, or 1 million people worldwide died, there are 8 billion motherfuckers on this planet. What's a million?
I'll actually defer. This was a person I wasn't thinking I would quote because I used to fucking, well, I still fucking dislike the person as a historical character, but I think I understand more and more why Stalin said one death's a tragedy, a million's a statistic.
Exactly. Emotionally, people just don't have.
Yeah.
What's a million
Like,
people?
okay,
It doesn't mean anything to you.
Yeah. Well, 1,000 people died in the US now. Why would you care less or more? Let's say, for example, why wouldn't you care more about how many people died during the fucking, I don't know, pogroms, like fucking several million? 700,000?
Yeah. What's a million?
And I don't want to be. I'll play the inverse as well, like the whole economy boom and stuff. Yeah, you should. I think, like, obviously Jim's been very quiet. Mr. America has been quiet about stuff because he's kind of realised. I would say, I think playing May on the more cautious side he wanted to do was a safe thing, because looking at China's reaction was, I think, how he gauged a lot of the stuff, and that was a fair reaction.
Mm-hmm. Oh, again, early on, I was kind of in the same. Luke, I am loving these images you're coming up with. Your son calls me mommy one, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And Steve's jerky threw the Lenore picture in the chat, by the way, folks. But yeah, early on, I was in the same boat. I was like, this could be a real fucking problem. But, you know, after a while, I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's not. Can we, like, not destroy the economy? And can we not become an authoritarian hellscape? No, I guess not.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jim, did y'all follow the PPP shit?
The what?
Okay, so there was this, like, I say scandal. It was basically... So these YouTubers, PPP and Godwinson, were... I guess there was a bunch of cringy texts of Dick Masterson, like, like trying to get in some chick's pants, and it turns out Dick Masterson is, you know, there's some cringy shit in his personal life, which, hey, you know, who among us can't say that? But I guess a lot of people try to cover interference for Dick. It's, you know, his buddies online. And then, so PPP is trying to say that, like, because they all use Dick Masterson's PayPal alternative, new project, that they're all being bribed, and Dick Masterson has their docs, and it's really autistic and out there. And I'll be honest with you, I don't find the text to be that fucking funny. They're kind of funny, don't get me wrong, but it's like, yeah, we've all been made a fool of by a woman. We've all said done dumb, cringy shit trying to get some pussy.
Can I interject there? Because you said made a fool. All he did, and I'll be real, I don't really give a fuck about Dick Marston, but I think Mersh put it quite well. It's like he tried to get into a chick's pants. He technically succeeded. You just caught the cringe element of it. Like, fair enough, the guy got caught literally with his pants down.
But look, even if you take the less charitable version, that, you know, he's a complete simp for this woman and all. Hey, you know, I mean, girls make fools out of guys. Like, it's just they do that, okay? Every once in a while, one of them's gonna get under your skin, and she just might make a complete fucking fool of you. It happens, all right? I'm not gonna act like it ain't happened to me, and if it ain't happened to you, you're either extremely Chad or you're a fucking incel. One or the other. That said, though, I don't look something about PPP. Doesn't sit right with me. Something about, like, watching him on stream, just like, it's one of those spider sense things. Like, I felt that way about, like, Ghoul back in the day. I felt that way about Richard Spencer for the longest time. Or it's like something about him just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know what it is. I really don't. I really can't put my finger on what. Just something about him just bothers me at a visceral level, and I don't know why. That said, though, he got his channel fucking showed yesterday. Like, gone. It's gone. It is gone. I can't. And like, it was like right after he did a stream, too. So there probably are some guys that are trying to shut him down because they don't like the fact that he's talking about embarrassing shit. And that ain't cool. Like, I'm not cool with that either. You know, I'm not on Team PPP, but if somebody in Dick's camp got him fucking shut down, that's not cool either.
Well, has PPE actually posted the reason for his flag? Or
I can't find him any. I'm not really on Twitter, so I don't know if he's on Twitter or not. But I don't know what his second channel is or anything like that, so I don't know. He's probably talked about it since on some other channel, but
I'd be wary. I mean, there's always a chance he could have fucking just ended his account or false flag.
no, it was terminated for violating. Like if you, because like I watched part of a stream on like break yesterday, and then like my next break, my lunch break, I was like gonna watch more of it, and I like I tried to find it in my feed history, like my watch history, and it's not there, and I'm like, oh, that's weird, and then I went into my actual internet history on the phone, and like, oh, there it is. I click on it, and it said, this video is no longer available because the channel that uploaded it violated terms of service or something like that. So yeah, he's gone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Tom Bombadil says you don't need spider sense with PPP. He is mentally ill. Yeah, he doesn't sit right with me. Zach the Bong Ripper says Luke is about to break the pornography barrier. No, Luke is very good at skirting up just to the line, which is why he's great with the images.
Yeah. If he did break that limit, that back's still going to be worse for wear.
Yeah, we need more Lenore images. Lenore is best girl. I still contend Hector has no reason to complain at the end of season 3. Oh, my life is over. Shut the fuck up. You got the best deal out of anyone in this whole fucking season. Oh no, I have a bossy girlfriend who insists that this whole empire of people be nice to me.
Yeah, but
and I live in a castle.
And is being trained regularly.
Yeah, really. I'll take that training. Now, I understand that obviously my proclivities are a lot more in line with his situation than his might be. Still, that being said, just objectively, I can't see how Hector's situation is that bad. Like, you could have ended up owned by fucking Camilla.
Oh, boy.
I wouldn't want that, okay? That's a bit too much for me.
I've not watched this show, but if the choice for this guy, the protagonist, is to be owned by different women, I don't think that's really bad outcomes. Like, bad outcomes is getting fucking murdered.
Basically, this vampire chick seduces him, and she puts this magic ring on him, and she's saying, like, you can run away with me, Hector. And he's like, you just have to say you'll be loyal to me, and you'll do what I say. And he's like, okay. And the magic ring now binds him to that, like it's a magical contract. So, at this point, she doesn't have to be nice to him at all. He has to obey her, right? And she still tells everybody else in this, like, vampire empire, like, okay, everybody has to be nice to Hector. And Hector gets the run of the castle. So basically, he's just got kind of a bossy girlfriend. I mean, there are worse things in life to have.
Yeah, I was also going to say, seeing as we're in person, Luke, you can't play True Detective clips until Chris actually watches the show. Thank you very much.
I still have not yet. It's on the watch pile, but to be honest, I haven't thought a whole hell of a lot of anything here these past couple weeks. Fucking 58-hour weeks kicking my ass.
Well, someone's gonna make those boxes.
Gotta make them boxes,
Amazon.
man. Boxes gotta fly out the door.
For all those poor Amazon choices which everyone's making.
It's simple because, like, we laid off a bunch of people when this nonsense started, and then we got busy. And for some reason, the higher-ups do not want to call people back until June. So we're massively understaffed. And they're like, well, your department is a bottleneck of production. It's because there's like 3 motherfucking people here. What do you expect? Like, we had this meeting with the higher-up saying, like, you guys need to step it up. And my boss, my department supervisor, was sticking up for us. He's like, he's like, I ain't got no people. What do you want from me? Like, look, this is, like, the people, we are all, my entire department is all sitting at one lunch table in the lunchroom for this meeting. It's like, what do you expect? We have less than a third of the people we used to have. Oh my God, that picture of Daniel Fisher in the fucking dominatrix outfit. Luke, you're distracting the hell out of me there. But in the best way. When you showed that, when we were talking, it was a while ago, months and months ago. We're talking about Boy Meets World, and Daniel Fisher came up, Topanga from Boy Meets World, and I was like, God, that was a childhood crush. Luke just out of nowhere brings up this picture of her in that fucking dominatrix outfit. And I was like, good God, Luke, I almost fainted. Like, you can't be just springing that on a guy. But yeah, it's like we don't have any people, and they're like, oh, well, your department's behind it. It's like, oh, shit. What the fuck you expect? Like, I don't even care about the overtime. Like, I can handle it, and I could certainly use the money, but don't, like, I had to bite my tongue in that meeting, or I'd have been out of a job, because I'd have been like, you out of your fucking mind?
You should have mentioned the JQ. That would have helped.
Mention the JQ. Get him woke on the JQ. Well, sir, we wouldn't have this problem if it weren't for the Jews. No, I should have gotten him woke on the AQ. On the Amish president.
Yeah, have you got any Amish workers that you can pin this job on?
Somebody in the chat says, Beckloff, what kind of job do you have? I work in a box factory. Actually, I do not. I do manufacturing. We call it a box factory because Davis Arini called it a box factory. So that's just the joke we go with. I work in a box factory. I make boxes. Everyone needs boxes. No, I just do some blue collar work. I've done blue collar work most of my life, to be honest. It's, good honest work, man.
Yeah. Just remember, any poor Amazon buys you actually do it the next week. That box was made by Chris.
Yep.
Just remember that.
It's got the Beckloff stamp on it.
Oh, look at the daddy issues in that one photo.
Wait, which one?
The three redheads.
Oh. Yeah. Daddy issues can make the world go round. Oh boy.
Anywho.
Luke with a Topanga in the dominatrix outfit again. Good God.
Oh, he's doing the
God, she was so hot.
That's what we call a two-cock mouth.
Oh, I'm not sure I'm on board with you on that one, but okay. Maybe that's a British thing.
Yeah, but look at the size of her lips. She could swallow your soul.
She can, but I don't want to rub my cock up against another cock, even if it's in Topanga's mouth.
I'm not saying you should. I'm saying she could.
Well, to quote Jeff Goldblum, you were so concerned with whether or not you could. It's time to think if you should.
Yeah, it's best not to put those ideas in your head. It's safer to say she has a mouth that could suck a golf ball through a garden hose.
The old full mill.
I don't even like in porn when there's like multiple dudes on a chick. I don't like who's watching this. Like, I don't understand. I've never understood like watching a chick get gangbanged. I'm usually, if the amount of naked dudes, like in my porn watching days, if the amount of naked dudes is greater than the amount of naked chicks, I'm usually checking out.
Like, isn't that supposedly a girl's fantasy?
I would think it would be, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's no man who thinks I fantasize about being the second man.
Yeah, like that meme of the little white girl on the couch with the 5 black guys behind her. Like take race out of the equation, and I'm still not sure who the fuck is jacking off to this. Like, do you want to be guy number 5?
The mindset you have to be in that shot too.
There's a reason why the only person smiling in that photo is the chick.
I guess, man.
No one else is smiling. They're just looking like.
Looking like I hope I'm at least towards the front of the line.
Well, if we want to be stereotypical.
Could be worse. It could have
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They were black guys. They knew they were getting their picture taken, so they couldn't smile.
What, they look like locked video game characters in fucking Super Smash. Oh, actually, mentioning Smash, you probably, I don't know if you saw it, but did you hear in the latest Evo they took Smash out because it was too autistic?
Or did they just take Melee out because all the players stunk?
No, they took all Super Smash. Well, I think what's the one they play? Is it Melee or is it one of the later ones? Because Melee's the one that has a lot of autism, but I think they took all of them out.
I don't know. I don't really pay attention to the competitive game scene. It's just the whole thing is like really autistic. So he says it's a lot better if it's one dude and 5 women. I mean, well, yeah, that's ideally.
The logistics doesn't really work though as well. It's still better, but
I mean, you're going to be exhausted by the end of that. You're going to be...
I suppose he's got 5 limbs in some way.
I mean, you're gonna have, like, ladies, you're gonna have to take turns. Speedrunning is worse. Yeah, speedrunning is the most autistic form of video game shit. Like, I don't get the appeal of watching it. Like, it's kind of amusing the first time you see somebody like break a game like that, but it's like after that, it's like, there's nothing about this is fun. I don't understand people that want to just like blast through a video game as fast as fucking possible. To me, that's honestly like somebody wanting to have sex as fast as possible. Can you imagine like, yeah, I got my nut time down to like 3 seconds, being all proud of it? Like, no, like sex is fun. Don't you want it to last? Video games are fun. Why do you want to go through it as fast as fucking possible?
No, I can agree with that. The only thing I would disagree with is the ones who do it to an autistic level where they can complete like Super Mario Brothers in like 2 minutes. That's not a fucking game at that point. That's you clicked about 12 buttons in that point of view.
Yeah, you broke it, and it's like that's kind of fun to watch once. Like, yeah, I glitched through this wall, and like I saw like there's a speed run of fucking Super Mario Brothers 3 where they like quickly go to like. I think it's somewhere in World 7, and they glitch through this fucking thing that makes the game crash and loads the cutscene when you beat the game. And it's like, I beat the game. It's like, no, you broke it. Like, it's kind of interesting what you did just there, but that's not beating the game. You just fucking broke it. Like, that's basically like if I went and like, guys, watch, I'm gonna beat Super Mario Bros. 3, and I just go to YouTube and bring up a fucking clip of the end scene, last cutscene. I did it! No, you didn't. You didn't do anything.
Have you seen the, I was gonna say the playthroughs they're trying to do for, the first episode, not the first episode, the very first level of Doom? Some guy spent almost like 10,000 attempts to go from 9 seconds to 8 seconds to finish that level. Can you imagine the first level of Doom that many times just to get that record down?
Like, I mean, did you win money? I don't understand why you did that. Like, I don't get it, guys. I don't get the speedrun shit. It really seems like you're sucking all the joy out of it.
I think there's a talent for it, but I mean, well, actually, I'll tell one
There's
thing.
a talent for a lot of things. Like, there's... painting your walls with shit might involve talent if you're doing it really well, I guess. But the real question is, why would you do that?
Actually, could I say on an inverse?
Taking 2 dicks in your mouth at the same time is probably a talent. But why? Why would you do that?
Can this redhead go to 3 heads or 4 heads?
Yeah. How many fucking dicks can you fit your asshole at one time is a talent. But like, I mean, but why? Why would you do that?
Would you have a difference for games where they're specifically designed for speed and stuff, like racing games, for example? They're designed for like
even back in the day, where like Sonic on the Genesis. That's all you got to go fast, right? Even back in the day when I would play Sonic 3 and Knuckles on the Genesis, and I mean I played the shit out of it. I explored probably every fucking pixel of that game. Very rarely was I like trying to see how fucking fast I can get through a level.
Only when you're supersonic.
Yeah, like maybe then, which, honestly, like when I beat that game, I had supersonic and hypersonic and all that shit. I can't imagine beating some of the mini boss in Death Egg Zone, like at the end of the before Robotnik, the mini boss. I cannot imagine ever beating that shit without hypersonic. Like I never had to beat him without it. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get especially when you're reaching the point where you're fucking breaking it, where you're like sequence breaking and shit like that, and you're doing stuff that clearly you were never meant to do. Like I accidentally glitched through a wall or something. Like there's speed runs of Breath of the Wild where they glitched, where they glitch through walls, and they.
Is it the sort of ones where they sort of they end up sort of vibrating against the wall, and then 5 seconds later they're 2 kilometers away?
Or where they break the physics engine, and it's like they go into bullet time right as they're shield surfing, and they bounce, and it causes the physics engine to break. Like they'll shield surf onto an enemy's head and go into bullet time right then, and that will break the physics engine if you do it just right, and you'll shoot up like a mile into the fucking air. And then you can glide to virtually anywhere on the goddamn map. Well, that's cool that somebody figured that out, and it's kind of cool to watch once, but it's like, you broke it. You broke the game. It's funny to do, but you broke it. The physics engine's obviously not supposed to do that. And you found something the developers didn't realize and broke the game. It's like, that's cool.
It reminds me of, I'm going to say this right now, as much as you didn't like the GameCube, I actually think the N64 I have a much bigger distaste for a lot of ways, but when I look at, when you see Super Mario 64 speedruns, and the fact that they have to have about 12 different categories for, different sets of glitches, so you've got obviously you've got an all-star speed run, right, where you have to get all the stars, and you've got the minimum amount, which is 104, and then for example they had to do I think 4 different subset categories, you need 80 stars, and then 60 stars, and then 20, and then 2, because some autistic people realized that you could spin dash different ways up the fucking stairs to face the final boss. That stuff seems fucking borderline retarded to me. Why not just have a minimum or fucking all stars? It baffles me.
Again, this devolves into where it's yeah, I broke the game, and I glitch it out at the title screen so it it loads the fucking final cutscene. I win. No, you just broke it.
I was gonna say Zinkman in chat put the 8 press challenge. Yeah, don't tell Chris about the 8 press.
Oh, I already know about that. Fucking Undertow explained that shit. The half A press, and we watched the shit live, and it's parallel universes and shit like that. And it's this is all simultaneously really fucking amazing and terrible. If
this guy could put that equivalent effort in that game engine to, say, solving World of Hunger, we would be fine.
If that motherfucker was an engineer, he would have developed a portal to an actual parallel universe by now.
He would have done that sort of half A press to fucking Mars and back, and it would have been 12 seconds.
Somebody says AVGN mentioned that people managed to get to Ganon without ever getting the first sword. Again, that's something that's interesting one time, but at least that's not glitching through shit. But it's after that, it's okay, the fact that you can do it is interesting, but why? Why would you do that?
I mean, that's still kind of an interesting challenge. I mean, there's actually, did you see, I watched some of the Doom challenges. There was actually someone who, are you familiar with the idea of pacifist run in Doom, where you finish the game, or at least finish the levels without killing any monsters?
That would be an impressive trick.
Now, there was a couple episodes seen impossible, but there was actually one done with the Cyber Demon, and it's how the fuck do you do that?
Yeah, don't you have to kill him?
Yeah, someone figured out how to do that. He had to glitch the Cyber Demon into a wall and had to get a lot of floating skull to basically repeatedly hit the Cyber Demon for about 60 minutes.
Jeez.
Good for them.
There was there was also another level in episode 4, I think, where you had a Cyber Demon at the end of the level you had to kill to go to the end bit. And it's a hard fucking level, and the guy did it, but he had to line up a Cyber Demon on a wall and then also had to keep 2 Barons of Hell alive, and it took about an hour and a half for the Barons to kill him. So he had to cause the cyber demons to fight. Like that takes 25 years to do. It's not been done for 25
I think the
years.
weirdest I ever get is like back in the day when I used to play Grand Theft Auto or Saints Row 2 or something like that. Like, maybe sometimes I'd be so bored I actually follow the traffic rules. Like, just fucking around, like, doing weird shit like that. But, like, yeah, I can't imagine. There's people in Breath of the Wild that have figured out how to fly. Like when you use the magnesium thing, you can lift things that are made of metal. But you can't be standing on it when you do it. But you can, however, be standing on something that is under something that you're lifting. So they wedge 2 mine carts together so that one won't fall off the other, and they get on the top one, and they lift the bottom one, and they're fucking flying through the game. That one is almost feels like an in-universe exploit, like you're not glitching shit out. But it's still like, yeah, you're not supposed to be doing this. It's kind of cool, but it's like, it's insanely hard to balance. Like, I've tried it a couple of times. It takes a while to get the hang of it. You have to have those things just perfectly wedged in with one another, or the top one will just fall off.
In terms of speedrunning, the only ones I actually kind of liked when they were done well and not like autistically glitched fuck. I did like the with games done quick, those sort of conventions they used to do. Those weren't bad, especially when they weren't glitched. Like it's kind of interesting to see someone do a game flawlessly or close to flawlessly, but when it's like some guy who does it in 4 minutes and it's basically just he copied some other speedrunner, like there was no when you see guys who clearly just copied someone else's method and are trying to perfect it, that's kind of interesting. But when you get someone who's like, oh, here's a glitch on YouTube, you can do it that way, it just kind of bores me. Like, to see genuine skill, like someone to do, like, let's be real, Super Mario is a fucking easy game, but it's something easy to fuck up as well. Like, I don't know, when was the last time you played the original Mario Bros?
Oh, pretty recently. I mean, I have a lot of old games.
It's got that sort of thing. It's easy to learn, but like the amount of times you fuck up and you're like, shit,
watching somebody just really skilled at a game is very interesting to do. It's just, I don't know. It's a lot of the speedrun things, like I said, a lot of it where you're either just sequence breaking in a way you shouldn't be doing, or you're glitching things out or something. It's like it's kind of interesting the first time you see it, but then it's like, well, I'm going to use that same glitch, but go 1/10 of a second faster, and it's like, who cares? Like the first time you see, like, it's interesting to learn that okay, you can break Super Mario 64 and get up to Bowser without any stars. Okay, fine, but like after someone's already done that, it's like, yeah, well, I did that, but a second faster. Good for you. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because we've been going on for about 2 hours, 15 minutes. And, man, them pictures of Lenore are fucking amazing. I love that one right there, Luke. Somebody posted that on the Discord earlier today, and I was like, God damn. Lenore is best girl. Lenore is Beckloff's anime waifu. I need to get a Lenore pillow.
Are all the characters British or is she British?
Well, I mean, they're European, so I don't know. I don't know the geography going on there in Castlevania.
The British accent is a good one. Is a point for me.
Why do people like British accents on women? It's fucking disgusting.
I'll tell you the one that I can't stand, and people are all like, "Oh, it's so," when chicks have Southern accents, and guys will be like, "Oh, that's so sexy." I'm like, they sound retarded. Like Southern people sound retarded. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to my Southern fans, okay, and my Southern friends. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you all sound retarded. All right, like all of you. Okay, you sound retarded. Just so we're clear. I'm not saying you are. Some of you are very bright, I'm sure, but you sound retarded. All right. And I don't want a chick that sounds like fucking Hannah Hayes. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you.
Just because her uncle and brother are the same person, Chris, come on.
Luke, hey, when's the Dash and Rogue streaming tonight?
It should be about 8 o'clock my time, which is about 2.5 hours from now.
Alrighty, well, y'all can check that out then. And if you enjoy the show, you can send me shekels. That's greatly appreciated. I'll probably be back to doing this regularly after things calm down at the day job. And
here's a good little clip to end on, I guess. If I could just play it.
We need Chris to say the definite hiatus is gone.
Today I received reparations from the family that enslaved my ancestors.
Amen.
Now the family has become poor white trash since then, so they only gave what they could.
Cleveland fucked the guy's wife. All right. Well, that's all we got for